Hello, beautiful souls. Debbie here, and I'm so excited you're joining me for today's show. As CEO of Up Vibrations, my goal with this podcast is to motivate you by sharing insights and also taking you along as I speak to knowledgeable people that I have found inspiring for me throughout my years as an energy medicine practitioner and channeler. I cover topics that I'm passionate about, all things under my three pillars of live, love, and lead. Live encompasses our planet, the food, exercise, meditation, your soul. Love, well, that begins with self-love, and that includes energy medicine, self-reliability, personal responsibility, spirituality, self-empowerment. Lead, this is how you're showing up in the world and how you are making a difference for the better. So tune in and listen up for this exciting episode to begin. But before we do, I have to read this disclaimer. This podcast and the topics discussed stem from my own curiosity and desire to learn and should never be taken as direct medical advice. I am not a doctor, dietitian, or any other medical professional. Please always consult your trusted provider regarding your health and your wellness. So let's begin. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Debbie Sodergren. Welcome to the Live, Love, Lead podcast. So today I have a very special guest for you all. She is one of my go-to people that I have in my wellness basket. So I want to introduce you to Dr. Elle Provencher. Dr. Elle treats her patients as if they were one of her family members. Her credo as a traditional natural health practitioner is to do the body no harm. And she offers many solutions that have been science-driven with a heart-based focus. Over the course of the years, she's had the opportunity to work with highly skilled medical and holistic practitioners. By being involved with these people, she has the ability to create a pathway of successful healing for people using the mind-body connection. The healing arts for proper nutrition with balanced supplementation, vibrational energy medicine, my jam, hypnosis, stress management, and the use of aromatherapy. Her patients have shown the better quality of life and they've had optimized health. Now, Dr. Elle is certified in many different traditions. She has a doctorate in traditional naturopathy or natural medicine. Her bachelor's is in holistic nutrition. She's a board certified natural health practitioner. She's with the American Naturopathic Medical Certification. She is certified hypnotist, a certified advanced energy vibrational medicine practitioner. She's a Reiki master practitioner and educator using the Usui and the Karuna key method. She's certified aromatherapist. She's a natural wellness speaker. So many, many things Dr. Elle has done throughout her career, proving that she not only is this something that she does, she lives this. This is just the essence of who she is. So welcome to the podcast, Dr. Elle.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm looking so forward to having a nice chat.
Aw, wonderful. So today what I want to bring to my followers and my loyal followers that are out there, anybody new to the Live, Love, Lead podcast, I want to have a conversation and just kind of as if we were sitting at the kitchen table today, just let's talk about stress management. With everything that's going on in the world, I know we just experienced Hurricane Ian down in Florida. And even though I am not on location there, but I'm up in Connecticut, I just wanted to touch base with you and maybe we can offer as people listen to the podcast, this will give them some insights and some strategies and just maybe some tools so that it will help reduce their stress and just help them with their stress management. And on that note, I just want to start off by asking you, what do you love? What do you do? What's your go-to in your daily routine for stress management?
Well, that is a great question. So every day seems to be a different kind of day of stress. But
True.
the easiest thing that I do literally is I take a breath. I just take a
Yeah.
moment, I pause, and I take a breath because sometimes you just need to stop and move forward. So many years ago, I don't even know how I figured this out, but I would just take a deep breath, I would hold it, and then I would release it, and I'd be like, "Oh, that feels better." And then what I started to do, and I invite anyone to try this, and I've actually taught this to thousands of people all over the world. So you take a deep breath in, you hold it, and then as you're releasing the breath, you're literally going to release that breath in three kind of like short releases. And as you're releasing a little breath, you just utter the word one. So if you'd like to do this with me, just basically gonna take a deep breath in, hold it, say one, blow out some
One,
breath, say one again,
one,
one, blow out some more breath, and then one, and release all the breath from your
one.
lungs. Mm. As you practice to do that, what you'll discover is that your shoulders are going to drop. So it
Mm.
takes a little time, so you can try it again. So breathe in, hold it, one,
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 one.
one. Wow, that's really powerful. Is there a name for this type of breathing?
I don't know. I
Oh,
made it
okay.
up. I'm
The
sure
reason why I
somebody
ask,
smart.
is because you know what I do as an energy medicine practitioner. So I know many different techniques because working with clients, the hundreds of clients that I've worked with, I'll do, okay, so let's do 3 cleansing breaths, breathing in, expanding the abdomen, breathing out. And they're like, okay, yeah, that's okay. And it's like, all right, well, then let's try alternate nostril breathing. And
Yep.
they're like, well, that one's a little too difficult. So then it's like, okay, well, let's try box breathing. So there are so many different techniques of breathing. And this one is truly simple. And I love it. And I love the fact that you do drop your shoulders. So that's why I was
Yep.
wondering if you had a name for it.
No, you know what? I've just been doing it for so many years that it's just become part of my practice. And I do teach like everyone that I meet. I'm like, just do this, you'll feel better. Because you can do it in the car, right? And you don't go to sleep. You know, you can do it in the grocery store. You can do it, let's just say, if you're having an argument, gives you a moment just to reflect and kind of compose.
Mhm.
Just gives you that moment for your body to feel safe because breath is our essential thing that we need. Without, if we don't breathe, we don't live at all. So,
That is
this is
true.
something, and when I do this, I also utilize this. Let's just say if I'm doing hypnosis or for myself as well, I do energy work. We utilize this to prep to be able to feel like, okay, I'm back in my body. I feel grounded. I feel safe. So that's kind of why I like to use that one. So that is definitely a go-to all the time for me. Another one that I do is, I make sure that I drink plenty of water. And my recommendation to most folks is, drink 1/2 of your body weight per ounces. So let's just say you weigh 160 pounds. That means you need 80 ounces of water a day. And yes, you need to figure out how much 80 ounces is because it's not just one glass, right?
Mm.
You
Yep.
got to
Yep.
figure it out. Things that I do is, I make sure I always add in something to my water, and also make sure that your water is good, clean water. I will tell you, most of the water coming out of your sink, not so good for you. Okay,
That is
even if
true.
you
Like
have,
if,
yep,
yeah, if you're on city water has so many things that they do to it between chlorination and they put
fluoride,
so much crap in the water. I mean, we're on well water, so I think our water's pretty pure. I've had it tested at a water facility, and it does have good minerals in it. Sometimes people want to say it's hard water, quote unquote.
yep.
So if you need to filter it, I do have a filter on the water off my refrigerator, or I'll just put on the shelf like a Brita type
Yep.
of filter.
Or even if for some people, you can just get it's a little device called a reverse osmosis machine, and it can go underneath your sink and it come right through your kitchen faucet. And then you can actually have nice pure water that's going to be effective for your system. But as I said before, I make sure I drink good clean water, but I also add things. So I also will add in some pure essential oils at time to give myself that, the healing from the inside out. So
Mm.
just, not all essential oils are the same. So I use a specific brand that I believe is the gold standard in the industry. And in the medical world, that's a big deal. So the
Yeah.
oils I use are, and if I may share, are doTERRA. They're
Hmm.
actually used in, like, say, John Hopkins University, right? The big boy hospitals are using doTERRA and only doTERRA. So if the hospital is using it, I'm going to trust it as well, on top of the science that I noticed that they have. So that was why I chose doTERRA. And trust me, I have little grandchildren and they're all oil babies. They've all had lemon oil in their water and they like it,
Mm.
the wild orange, and that just makes them happy. It helps with their GI tract, helps make their mood happier too. So that's another way that you can reduce some stress in your life. The other thing too is get outside.
Yeah.
Take your shoes off and step in the grass, ground. Mother Nature's here. And, we have so far gotten away from what the earth gives us. And so just even stepping outside, like I said, step in the grass. And if you recall being a child, you probably stood in the grass and then you started to spin. And you would spin and spin and spin and giggle like the dickens until you fell down.
Mm.
Now, the reason that we see that children do that, they're actually grounding themselves.
Yeah, there's actually studies now that
Yeah.
prove when you walk barefoot on the ground, that there are ions that are you have ions that you've depleted in your body. And what
Yep.
happens is by walking on the earth draws out those depleted ions and then it replenishes ions. It's an amazing ecosystem with us, this symbiotic, relationship we have with this planet. And if people could just get more connected to that, I mean, if you
Yep.
think about it, we breathe in air and we expel CO2, where the trees will breathe in the CO2 and they expel the air, the oxygen. So if we can just understand this on a very simplistic rationale that we are one with this planet, we live with this
Mhm.
planet. I mean, we have magnesium in our body, we have all these different elements in our body, and yet we have crystals around us, like I that's one of the tools that I use for stress management. I have
Yep.
crystals. Sometimes I'll put them on my body, but I always have them around me. And
Mhm.
it's because we are of this planet, we are of this. And so it's really important, like you said, to get out there and ground yourself, lean up against a tree. There's a good sometimes some of my clients are visual learners and I can say this to them and they're like, oh, I don't want to go read the research. It's blah, blah, blah. It's boring for me. So I tell them, then go on to Netflix, because that's what we're all conditioned to do. And
Mhm.
there's a great documentary on there about earthing. So go ahead and go watch it and educate yourself in that format.
Yeah, that's a great, great advice. As I'm going to add to that, so Deb, you've been to my house, so I got tons of crystals everywhere. I actually
Mm-hmm.
My street is on a rock ledge, so it's pretty powerful here as well. And other pieces too. You can take a piece of copper piping. You can just go down to Home Depot and get yourself a piece of copper pipe. It can be a small piece. Put it underneath your bed. That helps ground you as well. But another thing I like to do, and then I've been doing this recently, I get up in the morning when it's still quiet, and I sit on the couch for about 15 minutes before my grandson comes over because he takes the bus from here, and I turn on YouTube, but I go to a frequency channel.
Yes,
So
I love
yeah,
that.
so and then it's usually visual. So if you're interested in what that is, it would be like you're going to look up 428 megahertz music, right? And just look that up. And there's going to be a whole bunch of different videos you can watch. And it's quite lovely. Most of these, they have some great graphics that go in and out, like a little movie you can watch. But the music is very soothing. So the music that they use is we call binomial beats. And what that means is effectively goes through the right and left part of your brain. So it calms you down. And the different frequencies mean a different vibration. So 428, that's kind of a basic one that works really well. Anything over 500 is what we call love and above. So my little funny story is that Cass, I do it on Sundays too. My husband's kind of gotten used to it now. We have a little bit of coffee in the morning. We sit with the cat, because the cat likes to sit with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I had turned on one of those frequencies that was at 900. Now, for me, I was like, oh, this is just divine. This is pretty. And my husband was tweaking, because it was too high of a frequency for him. because he had been kind of not feeling so good and he was a little miserable about some things going on. And I'm like, your body is trying to bring you to a higher vibration. That's that sticky that you felt. But of course, he didn't want to play along.
Right. So when you
But it
say
was,
he was tweaking, what are some of the quote unquote symptoms
he
when
was
somebody's
getting
tweaking?
twitchy. It was almost like he was like, it feels like someone's like putting their nails across the blackboard. And I'm just
Mm,
like lovely enjoying the music. But it just showed me how out of balance his body was. So he
yeah.
literally, he went outside, believe it or not. I'm like, go outside, take your shoes off. Of course, he's rolling his eyes at me. And I go, just do it. Goes outside and go stomp your feet just for a minute. He does, comes inside, and then he could listen to the music. But he had to discharge whatever that negativity he had in his body.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting when you play these little games, of course, he doesn't want to hear the woo woo side. He's just like, yeah, I feel better. Okay, I can listen to
Well,
that
it's
weird
not
music now.
even, yeah, and I'm gonna say I don't even want to say it's woo-woo anymore because there's
Mm-mm.
scientific evidence now.
Huge
What's
science. Huge.
happened is we have been conditioned, we've been programmed, whatever word you want to describe it, to give our well-being into somebody else's hands. And so these
Absolutely.
are things we did as children. We were so intuitive between the ages of 0 and 7. We are
Yep.
so connected to our spiritual side. And so as children, if we think about it, you're right. We did go outside and play in the dirt and make mud pies. We did walk barefoot. We did, when we weren't feeling good about something, we did have a temper tantrum. We did release all of that negative energy. And so
Absolutely.
somebody somewhere programmed us as adults, well, you need to act appropriately. Well, guess what? That's not working for us, buttoning up and keeping everything tight inside us. And so I am giving everybody permission right now to start having your temper tantrum, set a timer and get it out of your body so that it doesn't manifest into some type of illness. Wouldn't you agree with that, Dr. L?
I think that's great. My favorite would be, okay, do it in the front yard when the neighbors are watching, just because it'll be fun. Just because it'll be fun. They'll think you're doing a little dance, but you'll be like losing your mind, like rah, 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 and then you'll be fine. You'll be like, oh, I'm okay now.
Oh my God, they're going to think we're all witches, which we are.
That's,
A
yeah,
woman
well,
in
everybody's
total
agreeing with.
control of herself. Yes, thank you
Yep,
very much.
absolutely, absolutely, right there with you. But it's really important to release whatever emotions you have. Now, I'm not someone that normally gets angry. It's not in my who I am. It's not how I go.
Mhm.
I mean, I get angry. I just don't, blow a nut. I just process it well. But, there are those days you just kind of do need to say something. And if you're not ready to run outside and lose it like a, little kid stomping their feet, write it out. Write it in a journal.
Yeah.
Just get the information out. Or you know what? Go talk to your best friend. Right? They're there. They love you. They're going to trust you to say, like, listen, I just need to come and dump. I'm going to bring a 55-gallon drum and I'm just gonna, puke my thoughts right into this drum. It's fine. We'll close it up. We'll put it away, and you'll feel better. It's
Yeah,
just
I agree
don't
with
leave it
that. I mean,
inside. Because I
yeah.
will, and I'm just gonna add to that, Deb. What happens is a lot of people we call stuffing it. We call it stuffing it, and on the medical side of this, and my job is more integrative medicine, holistic medicine, alternative medicine. Think of that. I'm not actually a physician, but I am board certified as a doctor of natural medicine. So what that means is I can't prescribe, I'm not supposed to diagnose. Of course, I know how to, and I just work with the medical doctors in alignment with that. But I can offer a ton of stuff on the natural side. And these are the things that I like to help people with is let's find a solution that works for you. So when we stuff our thoughts, we stuff our negativity, we stuck, whatever that is, whatever Bobby Murphy said to you when you were 5 and you're still not over it, your body remembers that. It's in your cells. Just like we know that, when they do science on the cell of the body, they can go back and they can go back to the very first human being on the planet by the cell in your body, right? Because
Wow.
you have that DNA still there, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing with your emotions. Your emotions become like little episodes of television stored inside of your body, and you can get them back anytime you want to watch that recap. But the thing about it is, how did you transmute it? Because if you don't transmute it out, it's going to create dis-ease in the
Hmm.
body. So we know that from this side, if you have someone that's not dealing well with anger, oh, their liver is pretty upset. And you'll see fatty liver, you'll see cholesterol, you'll be up between 2 and 4 in the evening. Anybody feel that before? Yeah. When you're wondering, like, why the hell do I keep waking up? Why is it between 2 and 4? That's because your liver's pissed off, right? So we need to find different methodologies to heal you, whether it be energy medicine, whether it be through nutrition. Maybe it's through, hey, you just need to go talk to somebody. Maybe you need to go stick your feet in the ocean, right? We could
Mm.
find those methods to help you, which now that you've just become aware of that, I could almost hear a jagillion of you going, oh my God, I'm awake between 2 and 4 in the morning. Why am I awake? Well, they've got some anger going on. Other things that show is if you're showing urinary problems. If you have a UTI all the time, you are not processing your emotions out either. Or GI issues, right? GI issues is all about, are you eliminating properly? And it's just not the foods that you're consuming. It's not just the air that you're breathing, your emotions as well. The human body is a unique machine. It is
Yeah.
so smart and it wants to keep you alive. So we just need to feed it well, whether it be emotionally, physically, or spiritually, and your body will work with you. It really will.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
yeah, and that's kind of the medicine I do. Like, I want to know, like, what's going on. I'll always say, hey, what's your blood type? And they'll be like, why? Well, because whatever you eat feeds that blood type. You're feeding your blood. We just think we're feeding our belly. No, you're feeding your blood as well.
I know.
If
I
you're not,
love that. I love the book Eat Right for Your Blood Type.
yep.
I got that years and years and years ago.
Uh-huh.
And whenever I start feeling really crappy, I stop myself and I do a little accountability check-in with myself. I take like a half hour of time and I just kind of sit and I'm like, what have I put into my temple in the past 48 hours? Like,
Correct.
has it
Yep.
been full of crap? Is it full of things that are, grab and go kind of stuff? I'm
Yep.
I'm very particular. I do eat mostly organic because I've done enough research and I've, listened to enough podcasts with other doctors and functionalist doctors, and they all talk about how our soil is depleted or how there's such
Correct.
high residue on that you can actually measure the
Hmm.
pesticides in the food. So it's not even just the dirty dozen anymore like it was 10 years
No,
ago. It's like
no, it's
you should
everything.
eat all organic. You should be growing your own and you should be eating things that are in season and locally to where you are. And
Yep.
I love that because I notice when I get back on track on that, meaning when I'm mindful about it and I'm careful what I'm putting into my body, I'm getting my water intake, I'm eating and cooking my own food. Like the other night, I was craving something chocolatey, like a chocolate cake. And so I did this thing. It's called the chocolate cake. What's it? It's called a cake in a cup, cake in a
Yep.
mug. And I looked in my pantry. I had everything there. I knew what the ingredients were. It wasn't going to be full of all these additives and carrageenan and all this other, anything with a tall at the end of it that's horrible for your body. It was stuff that I could actually process. And so I did. I made a cup. I made a little cup and a cake in a cup. And I don't use a microwave anymore because I've learned that using a microwave to reheat your food or to cook something in, it actually kills both the good and the bad bacteria. And
Hmm.
you don't want that. That's going to really mess up your gut biome. So it's important to like learn these things and
Yep.
look at the science behind it. And of course, this is like an anomaly. We're like the 1% of the population that are actually looking at this information. So of course, a lot of your family is going to look at you and roll their eyes and be like, that's not true. Well, they didn't do the research, or maybe they haven't read, or maybe they haven't exposed themselves to what you're exposing yourself to, no matter what your expertise is. And I think it's really important that you do you, stay in your lane, and don't tell somebody else how to live their life. If they're on a prescription, if they're having a chronic issue with something, that's part of their life lesson that they incarnated into this whole experience with, that they need to work out. Because if they don't work it out and somebody tries to give them the information, it's something that they're not going to heal from it. And if they're not asking for your advice, then you're just kind of spewing your knowledge out there unsolicited, and shame on you for doing that to somebody.
It's a boundary issue. You have to wait to be,
Boundary.
yeah, it's a boundary issue. Wait to be invited. And
Yeah,
I
the
know
best
that,
way I like to do that is I just like to model. I want to do me. I want to live my best life right now because I understand that this is not a dress rehearsal. This is
mhm,
my one life. I'm 57 years old. I don't take any medications. I have gone to Dr. L. I also see a regular GP annually. and just to stay in balance. So I make sure that I have a
Yeah,
mammogram. I make sure that all my blood work, my numbers look good. And we don't run just the regular numbers. I talk to Dr. L. She lets me know what kind of test I should be getting in order to know my numbers. And so I take that information and I use it together because I believe that Western medicine is good. Allopathic medicine is good to get us when we're in crisis mode. But then
absolutely.
we need to look at the holistic piece of it on what got us there. And we need to change the behavior and we need to make better choices.
Absolutely. When I was in school, coming in from the traditional naturopathy is do the body no harm.
Yeah.
And, working hand in hand with medical doctors has been, such a great education for me and for them. Right. I still have doctors say to me or to say to patients, give Dr. L an hour, she'll change your life for the good. Because doctors only know so much. They only get 6 hours of nutrition their entire years of schooling. 6 hours.
Wow.
That's not
Jeez.
much, right?
No.
And I've got over 6 years of nutrition. So, it becomes this great little dance that we do that's eloquent between the patients, which is fantastic. But I had a little funny joke. So, a couple years ago, I had been around a bunch of folks that COVID was a thing, and I ended up getting pneumonia. And I hadn't had pneumonia since I was a child. So I was like, what the heck? But in my spiritual mind, I'm like, well, obviously you needed to clean some things out of your lungs. Right?
Mm.
And I healed myself through using, the nutrition that I knew. Right.
Yeah.
I didn't do inflammatory foods. I didn't start eating, sugars and stuff like that. I drank the water. I used my essential oils as medicine. But it did get to a point where my blood pressure was dropping very low and I had to go to the doctor. And so my daughter brought me because I passed out and my blood pressure was extremely low. And I'm normally low to start with, so this kind of added to it. And I got to the doctor and she was shocked how well I was for the week that I had been ill because my temperature is 104 degrees. That's high. That's not good.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
we used peppermint oil on my wrists. We brought down the fever and we kept me in check. So when I went to the doctor, of course, I needed my blood drawn because I had to see what was going on. And she said, "So, Elle, when's the last time you were on an antibiotic?" And I sat there and I had to ponder. And I want to think she thought I didn't hear her or I'd lost my mind or something because it was that long. And she's like, "So tell me." And I'm looking at my daughter and I'm thinking, I want to think it's been 40 years since I've been on an antibiotic. And the doctor about fell over. She goes, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "How do you stay well?" Like literally asked me that. And I was like, well, I eat well, I have good nutrition, I make sure I take the best vitamins in the world, I use essential oils. And she still kind of was like, I don't get it. And I'm like, let's have a
Hmm.
conversation when I'm feeling better. And unfortunately I did have to go on an antibiotic. And I at this point I was glad I did because I needed it. I
Yeah.
needed to clear this pneumonia out of me. And the beginning, like I said, this was at the beginning of COVID. So who the heck knows what I had? Right? They tested me. One test was negative, one was positive. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care. Just fix me at this point.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
So,
it's so
yeah, you got to
important.
do. So I was
Well,
able to heal fast. But I just want to say here's the thing when I said I went back the next week with absolutely no symptoms because I was using specific protocols that I knew from the holistic side. And
yeah.
she was shocked at my recovery. Like she dismissed me, like, okay, you're good. Carry on. Go with God. Okay.
It's
So,
funny how that happens. Yeah, I
yeah.
know. I ended up breaking out a couple years ago with shingles on my back on my
Mm,
waist, and I had a nurse friend. I was out with girlfriends, and I went to my nurse friend. I was like lifting up my shirt. I'm like, hey, what's going on with this rash? And she just looked at me. She's like, Deb, get in and see a doctor. I'm
hmm.
not going to diagnose you. I'm like, okay. And
Yep.
so I did. I went and saw my doctor. She was on vacation. She had somebody covering for her. I went in and saw him. He diagnosed me with shingles, asked me how long I've had it. I said, oh, I've had it for 5 days. He's like, oh, well, then I can't give you the prescription for whatever it was that could help with it. I said, no problem. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go home and I'm going to, give my naturopath a call and figure out what I'm going to do. I called Dr. L. Dr. L gave me a protocol. I did the protocol on my topically. on it.
Mhm.
And I also did something ingested. And with that, within a week, it was gone. I mean, everybody around me that heard that I had shingles was like, oh my God, it's horrible. How do you feel? I hear it's so painful. Maybe it is for other people. I didn't have that. And I literally healed it. I did energy
Mhm.
work on myself. I used what Dr. L told me to do for protocols. I went back to the doctor 2 weeks later, and my doctor was in the office. She pulled up my chart. She's like, yep, I see you were diagnosed. Can I see it? I showed it to her. She's like, what did you do? I told her what I did, and she put it in my chart. I said, could you please put it in my chart? Because I know we're going to have to refer back to this. I know we're going to circle back around. And I said, that's what this is all about. I know my body best. You can tell me what you know, but you're not my only resource for information. And she
Mhm.
said, I agree with you. She said, I am so maxed out. I am so maxed out with my time. I have so many patients I have to see. I'm documented on how many patients I have to see. See, a lot of doctors' offices are bought out
Mhm.
by a lot of bigger companies,
Yep.
and their schedules are dictated according to the pharmaceutical company that owns them and what they need to prescribe.
Yep.
Think about that, people. Like, put your money is your voice. And if you don't want to do the prescriptions, then invest in other wellness. I don't care. Like, my kids like, oh, well, doTERRA, it's an MLM. So what? What is the problem with that? Don't make it a bad thing. If it helps me and I'm healthy, what is your problem with it? So
Yep.
there's a different mindset. There's a different shift that needs to happen in our consciousness to get away from what the masses think about something. Everybody, wants to tag something. It's either bad for you, or they have a preconceived idea about it, or it's conspiracy theory, whatever it is. And I just want to invite my listeners to just stand in your truth. You do you, and just be an example of what wellness looks like. And that's the best advice that I could give you.
It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. And
So
I
Dr. L,
agree.
what is your daily routine? Like, if you had a go-to in the morning, could you just real quick for my listeners wrap up what is it that Dr. L does? Like, if I was in Dr. L's kitchen in the morning and she came downstairs, like, what is it you do before your feet hit the floor and then come downstairs in the first hour of your day?
Well, literally, if I have my alarm on, my alarm is not something obnoxious. It's like little chimes or something gentle to awaken me. Or, like this time of the year here up in New England, it's still dark now in the morning. So, I leave the blinds open so nature will wake me up by the sun, how it comes up, how it's supposed to be. So those are some of the things. I get up in the morning and the first thing I do, I stretch. I use the ladies' room and I come out in the kitchen and I pour myself a big glass of water. And I actually most of the times it's just straight water, but sometimes I've been adding in some collagen. And it's a specific collagen, and we can be glad to share that after this. I'll drink the collagen down, and what it does, it revitalizes my cells. It wakes me up, right? Then I,
Mm.
go back in, I put my contacts in because, I want to be able to see where I'm going. And then from that point, I might make myself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And yes, I do drink coffee. I live in the world. I like coffee. It's what I like. It doesn't affect me in a negative way, but I do drink my coffee black, or sometimes again, I'll put some essential oils in it because that's how I like how it tastes. Sometimes I make it with cinnamon because I know that helps my pancreas. Sometimes I do it with wild orange, makes it kind of taste, kind of interesting. And then I go and I sit on the couch with the cat for a few minutes because the cat to me is soothing. And he's
Mhm.
a big boy. He's 25 pounds. He's like a little dog. He's just happy as hell to see me. And then from that point we sit and I just kind of chill out for a few minutes before I start mad dashing. In the
Nice.
past, I am a stress junkie in a good way, but I work. Like I work usually from the minute I wake up to the minute my head hits the pillow. And I've learned over the years that's not such a good thing to do.
Mhm.
Everything has to be in balance. So me even taking that 5 minute to pet the cat, because I love my cat and he's becoming an old man. I want to make sure I spend as much lovely time as I can with him. But then also I'll turn on the YouTube, I'll listen to that gentle music, right? And that gives me about, maybe 20 minutes or so. It's not a long time, but I just give myself time to just be, to breathe. There's sometimes I just sit in the quiet because I enjoy that as well. I live in the woods. Sometimes I'm just looking outside at nature, so I give myself time to just be.
That's
And
wonderful.
then,
I know
yeah,
because
and
we've been programmed that, we should always be busy. We should always be go, 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 go. Especially women, we should wear a lot of hats.
yep,
I'm pulling the bullshit card on that. I don't believe in that philosophy. And I've learned and I've experienced, more importantly, I've experienced that when I do less, I get more traction in what it is that I'm attracting
yes.
to myself. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and you know why? It's because you're not getting pulled in 20 different places, right? So
exactly.
when you can focus on one as opposed to be depleted. And, for those of you out there, for those of you that, have an elderly person living with you, and I have my mother-in-law living with me, that's become a stress. So those 20 minutes just gives me time to breathe and have some time for me so that I could better care for her. And then right after that, I will tell you, my grandson comes bolting in. He's 6, right? So he's a crazy little kid. For a couple little minutes, I put him on the bus with my daughter. Very happy to do that because I have the ability to spend that time with him,
Well,
right?
yeah,
Where
you
I'm
got your
fortunate.
priorities straight. If you do
Yeah.
everything you do to
Yep.
not only for yourself to have the best life now, but your priority is your family. And that's why we're so connected. We have a lot of things that we're of like mind. And that's
Yep.
very important to all my listeners. Surround yourself with like-minded people. You
Absolutely.
love your family, but maybe you're supposed to be the lone nut in the family, showing that there's a better way of being in
Oh,
this world instead
absolutely.
of doing in this world.
Absolutely. And
All
another
right.
thing is, so when Deb and I first got on this call, I'm like, let me make a cup of coffee and let me go sit outside while we have this conversation.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
So
beautiful.
I'm outside because it's like I wanted to bring peace to you as well, because I know the vibration will come through.
Yeah,
So thank you
absolutely.
so much for this opportunity. It was so much fun. And if any of you want to know more, I'm happy to offer my information or Deb can share it however she feels best.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. L. This was amazing. I appreciate you taking the time out of your life to dedicate to this. I loved this catch up, this little coffee
Yeah,
across the
the
virtual
way.
table here, and the tea across the virtual table. But this was wonderful. I hope my listeners, I hope you all got something out of this. I will definitely be putting Dr. L's information in the show notes. So you'll be able to go to her website and check her out, reach out to her. If you're struggling with something, please, change the way you're doing something in order to live a better life. So with that, I want to say thank you again, Dr. L, for joining me this morning on the show. And everyone out there, stay safe, be well, and until next time.
Thank you so much. Be well, everyone. Take care and smile today. Just smile. Have a good
All
day.
right. Great advice. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening today. If you loved this episode and all things related to raising your vibration and living your best life, you can connect with me online at debbiesodergren.com. Check out my YouTube channel, Debbie Sodergren, and follow me on Instagram at Debbie Sodergren, Facebook page of Up Vibrations with Debbie Sodergren. I invite you to join me inside my Live, Love, Lead community. The link is on my website. You can always send me your questions or comments or just say hello on social media. And remember, a shift in perception is sometimes all it takes to up your vibration. Until next time.